Hello and welcome to week 10 of BMA 258 Services Marketing. This week we'll be looking at customer satisfaction and service quality, which is covered in chapter 12 of our textbook. So first of all, the learning outcomes for this week are to define customer satisfaction and service quality within service industries. Number 2, explain the significance of customer satisfaction in achieving competitive advantage for our businesses. Number 3, explain the causal links between perceived customer value, service quality, customer satisfaction and loyalty. Number 4, describe the various models of satisfaction and service quality. Number 5, list the major drivers or determinants of satisfaction and quality within service settings. And last of all, describe how to measure and monitor satisfaction. So let's start off by defining customer satisfaction. So it comes from the Latin word satis, which means enough, filled or plenty, and then facto, which basically means to make or do something. So it's you've had enough of making something. So satisfied, you've had enough of it. So satisfaction is a consumer's post-purchase evaluation of the overall service experience, so such as the processes that they went throughout that service exchange, and the outcome, what they actually got out of it in the end of it, right? So it's an affective, in regards to like an emotional state or feeling reaction in which the consumer's needs, desires and expectations during the course of the service experience have either been met or exceeded. Now these feeling states include not only contentment or fulfillment, which is like to have enough, but also surprise, such as pleasant surprise, arousal, pleasure or even relief. So it sort of goes beyond what we originally sort of view as satisfaction to include. Satisfaction could be like a minimal thing, like you just had enough, but could go well beyond having just enough to having lots. We are moving beyond mere satisfaction, such as contentment and fulfillment, to embrace the emotional laden concept of delight, customer delight. So customer satisfaction is very crucial in the way that we manage businesses. It has a pivotal role in the way that we manage our customers in our marketing. So first of all, satisfaction is inextricably linked to customer loyalty and relationship commitment. So customer loyalty is quite a complex concept, but that means that our customers remain with us. And loyalty includes not just remaining with us because they feel emotionally attached to the people that we work with or the concepts of our service brand, our positioning in the marketplace. So it's cognitive, affective, approach and a connotative part. So loyalty is a multi-dimensional construct, and relationship commitment is if something does go wrong, like how committed are they to the relationship, how committed are they to see things through, or are they prepared just to leave at the first sight. So loyalty and commitment. So linked to this is the connection between market share, of all the customers within that market, how many of those are ours or doing business with us, and satisfaction. So that's the first role of customer satisfaction. Second, delighted customers spread positive word of mouth, and in effect they become walking, talking advertisements, or what sometimes we call evangelists for our business. And this lowers the cost of attracting new customers, because and word of mouth is extremely important for us as a business, because we can try and convince new customers to join us and do business with us, but there's always going to be the element of skepticism, because it's us telling them something that they should do, which we're going to benefit from. So, but when there's other customers giving word of mouth and advocating for our business, they don't usually benefit from that. I mean, you can derive these customer loyalty reward programs where they get benefits referring customers, but that kind of undermines the whole purpose of the power of word of mouth, because the whole advantage of that is there's people recommending them to take a course of action which they don't actually directly benefit from. So it's just a genuine concern for their for their benefit. So third, long-term satisfied customers are more forgiving. That is, the firm can occasionally slip up and make a mistake without fear of completely losing the customer. It generally takes more than one unsatisfactory incident, or what we call a service failure, for a long-term customer to switch from our organisation to another one. So satisfied customers are more forgiving to us. All right, now let's look at the benefits of customer satisfaction. Now I'm going to start on the right here, because I think these ones are the more important ones. So first of all, customer satisfaction encourages repeat patronage, so repeat purchase intention, so the customers keep coming back. and loyalty. So loyalty goes beyond just our customers coming back all the time. It also goes about them advocating for us and sticking to us and committing to us. Customer satisfaction and service quality enhances and promotes positive word of mouth. So them advocating for our business, or encouraging other people to join our business because they've had a good experience and they want their family and friends to have a good experience. It lowers the cost of attracting new customers, which then reduces operating expenditure, gives us a competitive advantage as well. So rather than spending lots of money on attracting new customers, if we can maintain our existing customers to be happy, we get advantages through that. And we've talked about the cycle of failure, the cycle of mediocrity before, where businesses focus on attracting new customers all the time, and without maintaining good relationships with existing customers, and they start to spiral into failure. So this helps us realise the power of keeping our customers satisfied and the business benefits that we get for that in the long run. Right, insulates customers from competition. So if we are operating within a highly competitive market, if our customers are satisfied, they're less likely to go and be enticed away from joining offers with other businesses. Can create sustainable advantage, and it's one of the best competitive advantages. Reduces failure costs as well, because the customers are satisfied that when things do go wrong, they're not going to be so extreme and the literature uses the word terrorist, but I don't really like that word because it seems quite military and negative. But there are times when they experience service failure and the customers actively try to destroy the business that like your business that you're working with, right? So if we can keep our customers satisfied, it's going to reduce the cost of failure, the service failure. All right, so there's a lot of benefits to customer satisfaction, and most people would know that, but being able to clearly identify them and articulate them is quite important. So research supports a positive relationship between customer satisfaction and financial performance, which makes sense. We're going to look at models coming up about how that works out, but really a lot of the stuff that we've done before has, like we're talking about segmentation, targeting, positioning, understanding customer needs, wants and desires, and then we talk about the extended marketing mix, we talk about product, price, place, promotion, all that sort of stuff. That's all the things that we do to get the outcome of customer satisfaction and loyalty, right? Service quality. So what we're talking about now is the benefits that we will reap if we do all the stuff we've covered previously well. So there's this research by Anderson, they use the Swedish Customer Satisfaction Index, CSAT. In their research, they found that firms achieve higher customer satisfaction also enjoy superior economic returns. And this is actually good for investors too, because investors are they're always looking at indicators for financial performance in the future, and customer satisfaction is an extremely reliable indicator of that. So for investors, if an organisation is lifting their customer satisfaction indices, it's a signal for the market to invest in that firm, because it means they're doing well, they're happy, they're doing business, their customers are happy, and likely attract new customers, and it's a signal for future future positive performance going forward, financial performance. All right, now let's look at the drivers of customer satisfaction. So first of all, price. So if you're going to deliver an excellent service but it's extremely expensive, people aren't going to be happy with it. So price needs to be in the right place as well. Core service quality. We're going to look at service quality coming up in the next section. It's extremely important, and there's several dimensions to service quality which feed into customer satisfaction. And this model has service quality leading into customer satisfaction, but in reality, customer satisfaction and service quality are kind of interrelated. And in some models it shows service quality leads to customer satisfaction, and other models will show satisfaction leads to service quality. So you're thinking then, well, which is it? And in reality, in different situations, they work in different ways. So as a general, we've got in this model here that leads to increased revenues and profits. So this financial model, an experienced profits model, has service quality leading into cumulative satisfaction, which is like the adding effects of customer satisfaction. Then customer service, which is sort of linked with service quality as well. But if you can deliver on all the dimensions of service quality but not have customer service, obviously that's going to have a massive impact on customer satisfaction. And then brand. And here brand is the large concept of brand, such as the positioning in the marketplace and the values that the organisation stands for. So these drivers of customer satisfaction will lead to an accumulation. Now these satisfaction, which is a state, a psychological state, so these leads to behaviours then, like loyalty behaviours, such as desire to continue doing business, an increased share of business, and positive word of mouth recommendations, which lead to less customer turnover, more spend per customer, and easier to acquire new customers. And then from there we'll get the the final benefits. Well, I shouldn't really say final, but the financial benefits is a better way, and that's usually what investors sort of put a lot of attention into analysing, because they want to put money down to invest in a business. They want to know what money they're going to get back, a return on investment. Alright, so let's go on there. So customer value, satisfaction, customer retention. So customer perceived value has several components, each of which, for different types of services, may actually add value. So the key components are performance, quality, value, so the actual, the core service quality, the social value, and that's the value derived from a service's ability to enhance customers' social self-concept, so the way that they view themselves, the way that they feel about themselves. And it turns out that what we do as marketers have a big impact on the way that people perceive themselves as well, so their own perception of self. So that's quite important for us to get that worked out, right? Emotional value, and that's the value derived from the positive feelings that we experience and the affective states, like our emotional states that customers go through throughout the service process. So our service doesn't just generate utility value, which is like the functional benefit that customers will get from it, that they can use for other things, but actually part of the value that we deliver to them is to make them feel good as well. The interaction value, so the positive emotions or the modes of effect generated through the service delivery process, such as being smart, or such as through what our service staff do, such as smiling, being courteous and helpful employees, and we've talked about that before, such as emotional labour. Now, price is the financial sacrifice that the customer has to give up to be able to experience these values, right? The positive emotions, the interaction value, the emotional value, the social value, and the performance. So it's like a cost-benefit analysis, but a lot less rational and a lot more emotional in there as well. All right, let's look at the modelling of the customer satisfaction process. So we're going to start with this one here with service quality. Remember, we're talking about whether it's service quality leads to customer satisfaction or customer satisfaction leads to service quality. Here we've got service quality leads to customer satisfaction and customer perceived value. That's extremely important. We're talking about customers' perception of value, because then we're not really working in with their functional value. They're not sitting down with calculators, working out their marginal utilities and working out these formulas to compute how much value they get through the marginal increase in spend with the marginal benefit they would get from it. It's much more about their perception. So we're dealing with their consumer psychology, how they perceive the things, the market offerings that we're giving to them. So customer perceived value then leads to their behavioural intentions and their customer satisfaction as well, and loyalty. So this is quite a simplified model. It doesn't have any of doesn't indicate the strength of these relationships, but it does model out how they do work together and how they interact together. And now we've got another model. There's lots of models here because obviously there's a lot of research done on customer satisfaction and service quality because it's such an extremely important part of business. And a lot of the research that we do is leads is about how we get to there. So then these models sort of bring it all together. So here we have a model of non-linear effects of satisfaction on customer loyalty. Now, this has been published for the service profit chain, and I think this comes from a book, Free Press one. But the idea, so we talked a bit about terrorists and evangelists. I've mentioned, like, evangelists has come up on the slides before, and I mentioned briefly terrorists. We're going to be a little bit careful about the way that we call these things, but it gives us an idea about customer satisfaction. So we've got dissatisfied, or very dissatisfied, the neutral, satisfied, and delighted. Now, this is old research. We don't use delighted anymore. This should actually be very satisfied. If we change this word delighted to very satisfied, then this scale would still be relevant, and that would be the generally accepted CSAT scale, customer satisfaction scale, but then we map this scale over their loyalty or their customer retention, which is proportion, like percentage. So if customers are very dissatisfied, obviously their loyalty or their retention rates to the organisation is going to be low. Now, as satisfaction increases, we get to this zone of indifference, and that's where customers do not really care whether they stay with the organisation or go. And there the customers are at risk of leaving. When they're in this terrorist state, not only are they going to leave, and there's very little you can do about it, they're actively trying to convince other people to leave as well. So that's actively trying to damage your organisation. Whereas the evangelists, if they're delighted with our service, that we, their customer satisfaction is on the extreme level at number 5, they're highly likely to stay. That probability is extremely high. But not only that, they're trying to convince other people to join the service and experience the benefits, that the positive feelings that they get from that as well. Right, now we've got another model here, which is modelling the customer satisfaction process. And this has been published in the Psychology and Marketing Journal. So the dominant model in customer satisfaction research is the disconfirmation of expectations paradigm. And I think most of my students will be familiar with that now. The disconfirmation of expectations model shows the comparison between the perceived performance and expectations leads to dissatisfaction, mere satisfaction, and delight. So any difference between the expectations and perceived performance is known as disconfirmation. So disconfirmation can be good and disconfirmation can be bad. Now I'm going to sort of try and explain how this works. So here we have experience, word of mouth, marketing communications, awareness of competing brands. Now all those things together will set our expectations of service. When I say ours, the customer's expectations of service. So managing customer expectations is becoming increasingly more important, and as we do more research, increasingly complex too. But now we know how powerful expectations are. You sort of think, well, if that's so important, tell me about how I can manage customer expectations, and it's very dynamic and difficult, but we know that these things lead into expectations. Now, the expectations and their perception of performance are going to lead to a comparison. So our marketing communications, the things that people say about our business, the way that we position ourselves in the market is all going to set these expectations. Then they actually experience the service and they go, well, what's the difference between there? They're going to compare. What did the service meet my expectations? And everybody does that. You can't avoid it. Even when they're not actively thinking about it, it still happens in the background of customers' minds, right? Now, if performance is less than expectations, we get disconfirmation, but it's a negative disconfirmation. And that means customers get dissatisfied. So did it meet expectations? No. Was it below expectations? Yes. So it's negative disconfirmation. On the other side, if performance doesn't meet expectations, but it's above, so if the service, experience the service and you go, whoa, that's even better than what I expected. It wasn't what you expected, but it's better. So it's positive disconfirmation, and that ends up in delight. Now, if the service meets expectations, we end up with mere satisfaction. And that word mere seems a bit negative, but kind of this is where we want to be. Because what happens, so this is a singular model, you go, well, why would you want to be in delight? And for sure, you kind of do want to be in delight, but maintaining customer delight is unsustainable, because what happens then, if we continue this model forward going into the future, they're going to adjust their expectations. And everyone does, they adjust their expectations with new information. So if they experience delight, so a positive disconfirmation, they're in delight, then they're going to re-evaluate their expectations based on their experience, right? So then their expectations are going to be leveled up, and then they go through this model again. They're going to keep experiencing positive disconfirmation until they can adjust it to the point where they're going to get satisfaction and things are neutral. And this bit here is where things are in balance. So if it's negative disconfirmations, it's bad. You got problems. If it's positive disconfirmations, your customers are still learning about what to expect. All right. Here's another model. The expectation confirmation theory is a cognitive theory which seeks to explain the post-purchase or post-adoption satisfaction. Customer satisfaction is a function of expectation and expectancy disconfirmation. Now this is the same kind of model, but illustrated in a different way. And I've used this from Wikipedia. And the reason why I've done that is because it's more common. That's the only reason why I've done it. Because if I give you this model and you look at it, this is a bit more scientific. It's got the a bit of scientific note. It doesn't have the power of the relationships in there, but it is a little bit more complex because it comes from research here, right? This is basically the same concept smashed together in more of a simplified way. So expectations lead to perceived performance. Expectations of performance lead to disconfirmation of beliefs, which ultimately determines customer satisfaction. All right, now let's talk about satisfiers and dissatisfiers in the online environment. So research by Holloway and Beatty, they examine the factors contributing to customer satisfaction or dissatisfaction in the online service environment. So using critical incident technique and content analysis, the authors identify critical drivers and reported by consumers to produce a particularly satisfactory or dissatisfactory of online service encounters. So before we talked about all services encounters, now we're specifically talking about online service encounters. Now, as you would imagine, key drivers for satisfaction are website design and the interaction between that. And we've got models for that, the technology adoption model, which basically comes down to the customer's perceived ease of use, so how easy it is for the website to use, and how useful it is to actually use it. Those two things, right? Now, interestingly enough, while that's a key driver of satisfaction, website design, it's not a key driver of dissatisfaction. And what it is fulfillment or reliability. And we're going to link that back to service quality, because reliability is usually a very powerful indicator of satisfaction. What makes customers happy isn't necessarily what makes them unhappy too, right? Because while this is number one for dissatisfaction, it's actually number two for satisfaction. That's because reliability becomes a hygiene thing, which effectively means people just expect it to happen, right? As human beings, as customers, we expect reliability. So customer service, and again, we expect that. So if customer service is bad, here, number three, it's more likely to drive dissatisfaction. Bad customer service is more likely to make customers dissatisfied than good customer service is to make them happy customers. There's not much difference. They're both 7.2, 12.2, but there is a difference. That's the important part. And then security, privacy, which is going to vary between different segments, and then they're both quite low. So in here, design of the website and reliability. So those two things are going to be the most important ones. Oops, shit, was the wrong button. Here we go. Other influences on satisfaction evaluation. So besides the expectations, perceptions of performance, several other factors are known to affect customer satisfaction, such as their prior attitudes towards it. If there are customers out there that absolutely hate our brand, no matter what we do, we're going to have a very difficult time trying to make them satisfied. That's just the way it is, right? Where on the other hand, if they love our brand, like you think of Apple there, you've got some really enthusiastic Apple supporters, like the brand Apple, and they get tattoos and stuff like that. So even if Apple consistently bring out bad products, they're just going to love the organisation because they've got so much credit built up in there by their prior attitudes. Now there's three types of attributions. We've got causal attribution, control attribution, and stability attribution. So causal attribution is when something goes wrong, the customer assesses whose fault it is to blame. If the customer concludes that the firm's at fault, they are likely to be dissatisfied. So if your plane's delayed and it's because the airline can't get there, it just doesn't know what they're doing, you just think, it's so annoying. If the plane's delayed because someone's had a heart attack on there and they had to get a medical team in there to, provide urgent care, you're not going to be angry at Qantas because the flight's delayed. You're going to go, well, it's not their fault. And that's what causal attribution is. Now, control attribution is where the customer assesses whether it's not the dissatisfactory incident was within the control of the firm. So if it is their fault, like just say something happens to one of the engines. I'm trying to think of what would go wrong with the engine of an aircraft. You'd go, oh, hang on. Surely they do routine. So if the organisation's doing all the routine maintenance and stuff like that, and you expect Australian Airlines to do that, and just say there's an issue with the engine, yes, it is their fault, but it's kind of beyond their control, really. as long as they're doing the routine maintenance, which you expect them to do, and it's much better that they go, well, we'll check it out, before while we're on the ground than in the air. Now, stability attribution. Now, following an unsatisfactory service encounter, so service failure, the customer will assess whether this is a one-off, random occurrence, or whether the incident is likely to reoccur. So if someone does make a mistake, just say the pilot, so we're using the airline service, the pilot rolls up ready to take off and then he's forgotten something or whatnot, and it's just such a random thing. You're like, well, it's their fault, so it's causal, it's their mistake, it's in their control, but it's such a random thing, like you're more likely to forgive them. Whereas if it keeps happening, you're like, oh, why do they keep doing this? Right, so that's the influences on satisfaction evaluation. Now, just the last slide for this section. So other influences are perceived fairness, and this is equity theory. Rawlinson published a heap of theory, and this is really amazing, I think, about how customers, like when things go wrong, how customers evaluate their perceptions of service failure, right? And how we can recover that then, service recovery process. So that is equity theory. That is the comparison of the ratio of buyers' inputs, price and other satisfaction such as effort, inconvenience, time spent, to outputs, perceived benefits against the seller's input-output ratio. So it's like a cost-benefit analysis. Now, the perceived value has been shown to be an important determinant of overall satisfaction. This trade-off of quality and price is similar to perceived fairness. So perceived fairness and perceived value are similar. And actually we get just like the equity theory comes from perceivable justice and stuff like that as well. There are other things in there, but that's more about service failure and service recovery, which will, it's a massive topic. We won't have time to go into that. All right, so I'm going to leave it there for this section, and I'll see you in the next section where we talk about customer expectations.